Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial. I've been gone for a while. I went to Beyond Wonderland and then I got sick and then I went to Texas for a convention and then my boyfriend played a show in Denver, so I've been gone for a while, but now I'm back and we are EDC prepping, which is why I decided to do this tutorial. Somebody had requested that I do a daisy chain choker tutorial, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity because this would match one of the outfits I'm doing for EDC. Now, I'm going to show you how to do this in two different ways. I normally, when making any type of candy choker, add on these plastic little clippies, but I do realize that not everybody has those. So I'm going to show you a way that just includes using beads. Essentially, we will be making a little button, and then this here is going to act like the loop to secure it closed. Now for this little button piece, you can use anything. You can use a really large bead. In this case, I'm going to be showing you how to do this little daisy to match the pattern. Another really great option is for big beads is using some of these base head beads. If anyone is interested, do remember that I do have a discount code for base head beads. Just use the code FEEDRAGON for 15% off your next order. So some things to keep in mind for this tutorial. I don't know how much string you're going to need, just because everyone's neck size is different. Something else to keep in mind is also your positioning. So for me, I really like my chokers to sit really low on my neck, but you might like it up here. So it all depends on your neck size and where you'd like this to be positioned. If you're looking for a basis to go off of, for me personally, I do about 18 daisy links. You can also add on these little charms at the end. Not necessary, but I think they're cute. Also to keep in mind, I don't know how many beads you're going to need as well, again, because everyone's neck is going to be different. I'm going to show you the basis of making the daisy chain. I will do two separate chapters on how to link it together with no clasp and one how to do it with a clasp. Now, normally for my style of videos, I kind of show every single step, but just like my candy cuff tutorial, that would take me forever. So what I am going to do is I'm going to show you the basis of how to get your daisy chain started so that the rest of this can be a self-guided journey. Now for my string, I do quite a lot. I'd rather have more than not enough. If you are running low on string, the best thing to do is to do less, and then you can always just tie on more as needed. Something else to keep in mind is that for this tutorial, I cannot stress highly enough to use a corded elastic string. Not only will plastic string inevitably dry rot, but I just find that the corded string makes it a lot more comfortable. And for whatever reason, the plastic, when I place it on, these beads tend to pinch me more. I don't know if that was just because the first time I made it with plastic string, I did it wrong, or maybe I did it too loose. But every time I've made it with corded, I don't experience pinching. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my string and I'm going to pinch it, and we are going to fold it in half. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take two beads. One bead, I'm going to go down one center of the string, doesn't matter which side. And for the second bead, I'm going to take it and go down both sides of the string like this. And this is going to be the base for our daisy chain. So rather you use the clasp or you use the button, we're going to need these two beads here. Now starting back at the very top of our string, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the basis of our daisy chain. For me, I'm just going to do a purple, matte purple, and then like a pink middle. So I'm going to take my first two colors and go down the sides of the string like this. Folding my string in half, I'm going to take my middle color, so this is going to be the color that the center of your flower is going to be. I'm going to take that down the center like this. And then I'm going to take the other two petals and I'm going to place it on like this. And this is what we should be looking like, and you can take this and go all the way down your string. So we should look something like this. From this part, how tight you want your string to be is really important. If you want this to be looser, like where you can pull it over your head, do not pull on the string as much. If you want this to be really tight with little to no give, almost little to no stretch, then you're gonna pull your string tight. Now, coming back to the very top of our string again, I'm going to take two colors. So for me, I'm doing a glossy purple, the center of my flower down the middle of the strings, and then the other two color of my petals. And down the sides of the string. And this is how we should be looking like. And I'm gonna show you how to do this a few more times. We are going to keep on adding until it feels comfortable around the neck. The best way to do it is just to take it up against your neck and see how it feels. So we're gonna take our two colors down either sides of our string, our center of our flower down the center of our strings, and on either side, our other petals. Two of our flower colors here, the middle of our flower down the center of our strings, and two of our flower colors down either side of the string. And I'll show you how to do that one more round. Okay. Two of our flower petals down both sides of the string, our middle color down the center of the string, two of our flower petals down the side. And this is how we should be looking. Now you are going to simply continue this pattern all the way down the string until it feels comfortable around your neck. And then from there, I will show you how we add our extra bumpers and how we add the tops and the bottoms of our flower petals. If you are following along with me, this is where you are going to pause the video and play when you are ready for the next step. I have completed my links here. In hindsight, I probably should have done a different color than purple. I thought that it would be really obvious, but it's not. But you know, we're already here, so. Once I'm done with my links, I'm gonna go ahead and take my strings. I'm gonna go back to my bumper color. So I'm gonna take the bumper color down both sides of the string here. And I'm going to take one side of my bead like this on one side of the string. And then the side that the string is sticking out of, I'm gonna take my other string and I'm gonna go the opposite way. And I'm gonna pull. And I'm gonna pull tight because that's how I like mine. Now from here, I'm going to tie it off. So one of the ways that I like to tie it off is there should be a little bit of a loop right here. See the string? I'm going to take my string and I'm going to weave it through one of those loops here. Okay. Now this should create another loop and I'm just going to tie it through. And I'm gonna pull really tight. And that is going to secure it. So now with that secured, I'm gonna take my string, the one that we did not tie, I'm gonna weave it back through this bead. So now both of our strings should be on the same side and I'm just gonna give this a quick few ties. Here is the part of the tutorial if you are using a clasp. If you have decided to use a clasp, you are going to take one side of your string and you're going to weave it through here. And you're gonna take your other side of the string and you're gonna weave it back through that bead. So now your string should be back through here. You're going to take your clasp. For me, I have a little hole right here. I'm going to weave it through. And I'm just gonna tie it. And I'm gonna give this a handful of good ties. Now, because I have to do a separate part of the tutorial with how to do the button, I'm not gonna give this a bunch of ties. Now I'm gonna slip the knot underneath here. And the way that I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna take my string and I'm gonna go back through this top bead here. And that will pull the knot back on the inside of the bead. And then we are gonna take both sides of our string and weave it back through that bead underneath. Take my other side and pull it through. And from here, we are going to continue our pattern. Regardless if you add the clamp or the button, our strings are still gonna be sticking out of this bead. Alrighty, and if you are doing the button method, your strings, after you're done tying them, should be about here. And we are going to take our string and we are going to weave it back down the middle bead here. So the middle of this bumper here. And our string should be sticking out of this middle bead like this. Alrighty, so I'm going to teach you how to complete this pattern. So we are going to take the top part of our string and we are going to weave it through our very first flower petal, and we're going to pull. Now I'm going to take one bead, I'm going to string it on, and I'm going to weave it through this glossy purple and the matte purple. And pull. Now I'm going to take my matte purple and I'm going to weave it into this matte and this glossy. So as you can see, we are just filling in these gaps for the top part of our petals. And I'm going to show you how to do it a handful of times. And as you can see, we are just hopping along, filling in the gaps. You're going to do this on the top part, and you're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom part. If you are following along, this is where you're going to pause until you are ready for the next step. Alrighty, and now I have both my top and bottom done. I'm going to go ahead and turn this to the side here, and I'm just going to take my two tails and I'm going to give this a good tie. Now, if you did the clasp method, all you're going to do is just cut off these tails. Either you can add a key ring to the end of your bead here, or your clasp will hook right into the bead just like that, and you are good to go. Now, if you were following along with the button method with me, we are going to leave these strings here and we're going to place this to the side. I'm going to take another piece of string. It really doesn't have to be long at all. We are going to make a singular little flower. I'm going to make mine pink. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my string in half just like how we did for the daisy chain. I'm going to take my two colors down both sides of the string. I'm going to take my middle color down both sides of the string, and I'm going to take my flower colors both down on both sides of the string, and I'm going to pull. Look familiar? And I'm going to go ahead and give this a tie. Now I'm going to take just one side of my string and I'm going to weave it through one of the pink beads. I'm going to pull. I'm going to take the top of my flower, string it on. I'm going to weave it into the pink sitting right next to it. A pull. And I'm going to take this string, I'm going to go back down through that pink here. Take my bead, string it on, and I'm going to weave it through that pink sticking up. And I'm going to pull. And I'm going to take both of my tails and I'm going to tie it. Today, you've learned how to make a flower charm. Alrighty. And I'm going to cut my string here. And I'm going to save this string. The side of our chain where the string is sticking out of, we're just going to leave that there. And I'm going to come over here to where this is. This is where we are going to tie on our little button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my string, I'm going to string it through the middle here of this purple. I'm going to take my string and I'm going to weave it into this bead here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a tie. And I'm going to take my string and I'm just going to weave it back through here just so I can pull it and try to hide that knot. This kind of gives me a little bit more leeway. And then I'm going to cut my tails off here. Alrighty, and this is just for extra security. You don't really have to do this, but I find if you don't, this piece kind of topsy-turvys, and I like it to be center. If you don't really care, you can skip this part. But I'm going to take one more piece of string, I'm going to weave it through this flower petal here, the very bottom one, and then I'm going to weave it through this bottom piece, and then I'm just going to take my string and I'm going to tie it together. And this is just going to kind of pin that in place for me. Also, not a necessary step, but just in case if you want to hide that knot, I'm going to weave it through that bottom and I'm just going to pull so that knot pulls underneath, and then I'm gonna trim the tails. And boom, now you have your button. Now I'm gonna come all the way back to the front here, and we are going to create this little loop. I don't know how well regular pony beads will work. I definitely would suggest using smaller beads. If pony beads are all you have, then use pony beads. But for me, I'm gonna be using these. And I'm gonna use 8. I'm actually gonna cut off one side of it. And I'm gonna take just this piece and I'm gonna weave it up just like that. And then I'm gonna take my string and I'm gonna weave it through the side here. So now we are sticking out just like that. So now I'm going to string on whatever beads I decide to use for the circular part. Now for this, I do not recommend tying it crazy tight, just because we do want a little leeway so we can pull it over top of the button. So now I'm gonna take my string and I'm gonna weave it back through this one here, and I'm gonna pull. So you can see, now we have our little loop, and I'm just going to take my string, pull it through this loop. I'm just gonna give it some good ties. And remember, I'm not gonna tie this too tight because we need that stretch so we can pull it over the button. So now with that tied on, I'm gonna cut off that tail here. Ta-da! You have your very own daisy chain choker. And it slips on just like that. But this is the best way that I find to attach, where it can consistently be removable and you don't have to slip it over your head, so you can quickly remove it if needed. Alrighty, my friends, and I guess I'll end the tutorial here. If you have any questions or comments or even suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below. I'm also very open to feedback, so if you got stuck anywhere in the video, please let me know. It really helps me grow. Alrighty, my friends, and I hope this helped anyone who was looking to learn. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.